All right, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna be looking at the 1v1 maps in the 2026 mapping competition. See Elliot Aubrey's out there. Hello from the Discord. Hello. Gonna bring up here the Steam Workshop page for a second. So all the maps I'm going over are part of the 2026 Community Mapping Competition hosted by GB Pirate and sponsored by Relic. I'm only going to be looking at the 1v1 maps today. I might take a look at all of the other maps at a later time, but just going to focus on the 1v1 maps today. And we have a decent amount. We have 6 different 1v1 maps in this year. I'm just going to be looking at them in order, in the order they appear here. And 2 of these maps are brand new entries submitted at the deadline that I haven't seen at all yet. So it's going to be interesting. I have 2 bad looking ones. Can't text her to save my life. Well, we'll see. I actually recorded some of this yesterday, or tried to, then realized I never hit record after like an hour and a half. So I shut down my computer, and I was trying to do it where, you know, if I was giving critique, I was also trying to give feedback on how I think it could be better. So if there is something that needs work, I'm not just gonna bash it. I'm gonna try to say, hey, this is what I think could make it better, because that's the whole point of the iteration process for the competition, is to get that feedback and make your map the best it can be. So without any further ado, let's get into the maps. So we'll go to the 1v1 maps. The first map is Agrigento. This is the only map I've submitted. Make sure cheat mods is on. All right. This is the first one listed on the workshop collection, so we'll start with this one. I'll try not to spend too long on it because I'll probably blab forever about my map. Elliot, which map? Well, actually, I don't want to know what maps you made until after I look at all of them. I don't want that to influence my feedback. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear after I review them which ones were yours.
Roger that.
All right, so this is Agrigento, made by me, Softhand Sally, or Burn, as it appears on Discord and Steam. First, we'll look at the territory layout, and we'll look at the manpower points. There are 4 manpower points on the map, 2 main cutoffs here, and then also 2 cutoffs over here as well. And the fuels, we have a +5 and 2 +8s on each side of the map for a total of, that would be 21 on each side, 42 fuel, which is a pretty standard amount of fuel. Munitions, we have 40 on each side for a total of 80 munitions, which is a pretty standard amount of munitions. So resource count, pretty standard. I do want to talk about the layout a little bit. Obviously, these cutoffs will play a big role as they do cut off a significant amount of resources each. And I'll show you in a bit, they are fairly accessible through the middle of the map. And then the +8 fuels I feel are interesting is this +8 fuel is closer to the red player, but the way the terrain of the map is means the blue player will often go for this +8, and you kind of see the map split along this way as often as it's split down the middle this way. So all the +8s in the game, or in the map, are pretty equally contestable, I'd say. So yeah, and then standard victory point spread. So now let's look at the map. This is the base area. Won't spend too much time on that. And we come up here to the safe fuel, the cutoff, the +10, and the +8 fuel. One thing I did with this map that I want to point out is this heavy cover area that's kind of situated between all of these. While there's no heavy cover in any of these cap circles, means controlling this area can help control any of these points over here. Then we continue this way. We see the VP in some ruins here, and a VP over here with an elevated spot of ruins above, a +10 off to the side here. We come down and have this nice amphitheater. And we get to the middle of the map. So as we saw up here, there's a lot of cover, a lot of spots you can take safe engagements from. But as you get to the middle, there's a lot less of that. The cover is much less abundant. It's mostly light cover. And if you get too close to the sides, you're going to be potentially shot at from units that have elevation bonus. So what this means is the middle is very back and forth. You can take ground pretty easily, but you can't hold ground very easily because of the relative lack of cover. But controlling the middle is important because you have pretty decent access to the cutoffs through the middle. So it's kind of how the map flows as we come down here. This +10 is mirroring the +10 over here on the amphitheater, but instead of an elevated amphitheater, it has a garrison watching over. We have a +8 fuel in the corner again with an elevated area that can control it. A VP with line of sight blockers again. And then this is the safe fuel +8 cutoff and +10 that we looked at on the other side. And this time the heavy cover in the middle is via all these destroyed vehicles. So kind of a similar gameplay option there to control these four from the heavy cover in between all of them. And into this market area converted into like a little fuel storage. And into the red player base. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this map, but I think it plays well. I've played it. Obviously, the resource layout I think is interesting, and I think it looks pretty nice. But I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks as they give feedback on the map. Interested to see where I can improve, what visually I can make look better, and how people feel the map plays. But that is Agrigento, and we will move on to the next map. The meaning of life, the universe, everything. That's what you want me to tell you? I mean, maybe I can give advice on mapping. I don't know about the rest of that stuff. See, I don't know why this happens sometimes. The game mode switches. Happened to me yesterday. I have to switch it back to cheat command. All right. 42 fuel. $42 fuel what? On Agrigento? All right, this map, the Battle of the Leopold Canal, is a map by Shadow Freak.
Reinforce as required, Commander.
And first we're going to look at the territory layout. Oh, I see. 42. Yeah, okay. I understand now. I didn't see when you typed the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. I understand. Anyway, the layout we'll look at here. Manpower points. There's only 2 of them on this map, here and here, and they do serve as cutoffs, albeit cutoffs that you have to go pretty far to get to, I think. But that's fine. No cutoffs for the main base, but these plus 10 fuels, which actually this is important to point out. So each side has 20 fuel for a total of 40 fuel. And there are two plus 5s and a plus 10. But the plus 10 is very contestable by the looks of it. And I have played 2 matches on this map. I don't know if it was the most up-to-date version that I played on. It was a couple months ago. But these plus 10 fuels do play, I would say, a pretty decent role in the early game at least. You can dive in through the middle and harass these, cut your opponent off from fuel that way. So I think the lack of cutoffs compared to most maps is okay, given that the fuels are pretty contestable in the middle, and it's a plus 10 fuel, which is very significant. For munitions, we have, looks like 40 on each side for a total of 80. Again, standard amount of resources on this map, which is nice to see. And then the VPs are all in this main canal, which I assume is the Leopold Canal. And I will talk about that a bit later, about how that affects the gameplay. But as far as spacing, see, one is a little closer to the blue base, one is a little closer to the red base, but I don't think it's anything too drastic. So let's look at the map. The first thing I'm noticing is the lighting, because I see this amazing texture work here. And I feel like the lighting is just lacking some shadow or something. Let me enter screenshot mode to make sure all my render distances. Yeah. I think the lighting could do with some more harsh shadows, whether you're darkening the shadow color or maybe changing the sun angle slightly, because I think that would show off the really nice texturing a little better. Right now, I don't think the lighting is doing any favors. But let's look at the rest of the map. I really like this here. Anyone familiar with the editor? I don't think that this is just an asset, is it? Yeah, it's like multiple assets put together. And I think it looks really cool. I think this is a really nice piece of art here. Mud. Hey, Dutch Toast. Yes, very nice mud. I think the lighting, though, can accentuate that mud a little better and some better shadows. One thing that I noticed when I was looking at this yesterday when I forgot to hit record is the cracks on the pavement here. It just seems like it's maybe too much, and this pattern kind of repeats. Like you can see this little shape here that almost looks like a stick figure walking with its arm out there. These are the legs. Like you can see that pattern again here. And just seeing that pattern repeat and just so many cracks on the pavement just looks a little unnatural. I think it would be better if there was more pavement that was a little more intact and these cracks were used to accentuate certain areas. I think that's maybe that is also that's a turbulent puddle right there. Yeah, I think that's one of the only texture criticisms I had, was these cracks here. Just maybe use it a little less often. Anyway, let's keep looking at the map. I think the set dressing is really well done. I really get the feeling of a muddy, war-torn road going through here. Like lots of debris and stone and mud and branches, even some trees knocked over here. Again, putting together these buildings to make kind of a unique building, I think, is fantastic. One thing about this area right here, I think it's a little too uniform the way these are destroyed. And if they're destroyed this much, I think there should be a little more rubble. I mean, if we look at this house, like the roof is completely gone. Most of the walls are gone. One thing you can do to help with your rubble is if you elevate the terrain using the sculpt tool, and then put like a damage rubble splat over top of that elevated terrain, it'll help make it look like there's a lot more rubble here without having to use the limited rubble assets that we have available to us in the editor. And then you can have some of these rocks and stones poking out of that mound that you create, and that gives the illusion that there's a lot more rubble here than there is. And then you can also mess with varied levels of destruction in that way, where maybe this house got really bombed and this one with part of the roof intact, still made it out. I mean, still destroyed, but a little less destroyed. So maybe we're not seeing like all the floors because there's too much rubble on some of them. Just something to consider there. That being said, I think each individual destroyed house is really well done. I really appreciate this toilet here and the detail of adding even stairs here. I think it's really good detail. Just maybe with 3 of them right next to each other, they all look a little too uniform. So maybe try to break that up a little. But that's a pretty nitpicky piece of feedback, to be fair. And here we have one of the plus 10 fuels in the middle that's pretty harassable. And I like that there's no cover on the point. It means you can harass it, but you have to control the area. And there seems to be a good amount of cover to fight your way back into here, which is good. So if you do lose your plus 10, which is a big deal, it seems like you have pretty reasonable means of fighting your way back. One concern I have is this church. I don't know if the church can fire onto here, but if it can, then you might want to block that up, which I think maybe it can. Maybe it's only one window facing there, so it's not a huge deal. But the reason I say that is because someone decapping this fuel and hopping in this church could be a huge pain, whereas on this side, there's nothing really equivalent, so you can't control this fuel if you harass it as well as you can the other. There's not even as much heavy cover. There's this, and that's about it to try to hold it, whereas you can get behind this wall here. You could potentially use some of this rubble over here to hold it. So just something to consider for balance there. That being said, this whole church area looks awesome. I love kind of this overgrown feel of it. Like maybe this has been destroyed for a little bit longer. Like it almost feels like some of this destruction, like, because this is the Netherlands in 1944, which I should have mentioned earlier. We don't see that almost at all in Company of Heroes 3, which is mostly Italy, Sicily, and Africa. So first off, being able to make this look like the Netherlands with the assets we have is a really good job. Job well done there. But with that, I could kind of imagine that this canal was fought over in like 1940 at the beginning of the war, and then some of this stuff was just like overgrown during the destruction, and then fighting's happening here again in 1944. So I kind of like the feel, like how this all feels kind of overgrown as well. I think that's a really nice touch. Got some stretching here, which I didn't notice before. So I might want to... It's weird stretching. It's like 3D foliage that's stretched or something. Maybe it's a spline. Either way, something to look at there. I didn't notice that the first time I looked at the map, but I'm noticing it now. I love this whole area down here, this little courtyard here. I love the flower beds, and again, flower beds here. I think that's so well done. I would love to see like this area just copy and paste it onto its own map, to be honest. I think it's such a cool area. It's kind of a shame that it's toward the out of bounds, but something has to be out of bounds, so if it might as well be a nice looking thing. Then we come up to a plus 10 over here. So yeah, I think the whole canal, or the whole side of this canal, looks amazing. Love the lights, the texturing, the set dressing, the world building is really good. I would just like to see the lighting, the big thing that I think needs tweaking, and then the cracks on the pavement. And we'll go to the other side before we go to the canal. I love this little rail line here, going along the road. I didn't even notice that last time I looked at the map, this nice little roadblock with a big gun there. I love the NPCs. I need to learn how to put NPCs on the map. I just love that that's a thing in CoH3. And we can see the more buildings that were built along the canal here. And this is a really good, I think, example of varying the destruction. It's like this building was blown to bits. This one more intact, but still destroyed. I think that's well done there. I also like this flooded area here by this cutoff. And again, just all this debris and mud looks really good. Maybe could make this look a little more driven through. Some tracks, some like deep ruts in there. But for the most part, that looks really good. And yeah, I brought up my concerns with this plus 10 fuel compared to the other plus 10 fuel. I love this train knocked off here. It almost looks like the train was parked and the Churchill ran it off the rail, which is kind of cool. These buildings, it's going to be the same feedback as the similar buildings on the other side over here. Just maybe give a little more variety from destroyed building to destroyed building. Like the flame effects, that looks really nice in there. Yeah, this road looks really good. All the tracks here, you can see the mud more in the areas where the tires aren't touching. I think this road looks really nice. You got craters. Actually, craters strewn throughout the map. Very war-torn area. Looks really nice. Well, nice for a video game. Oh, this is some... I love this detail. Like, this cobblestone peeking through here. It makes me feel like this was an old cobbled road that they eventually blacktopped over top of. And now, because of war damage, that blacktop's been chipped away and you're seeing the old cobblestones again. I think that is such a cool detail. It looks really good, and it's something I never would have thought for putting on a map, but I love the way it looks. Then we get into the other base. Again, I think fantastic texturing work. I like the details of the logs over the particularly muddy areas. I think that's great. And now we'll go to the middle, because first I want to say the middle also looks great. I mean, it's a canal, but you did a good job with the foliage. This looks like a Dutch canal to me. Not that I've been there in person, but I've seen it a lot for research for other games. And I think this area looks really nice. My big problem with this area and kind of the map in general, though, is this canal. I think the visuals on the entire map, including the canal, are really good. But for gameplay, crossing this canal just feels really bad. And it's the focal point of the map. No matter where you're fighting, you're trying to cross this canal. And there is a covered crossing here and a covered crossing here. Covered meaning has heavy cover. And that's really it. But the VPs are all in the canal. There's so much fighting around here. And it's certainly a unique style. And a lot of CoH3 maps definitely go for a unique style. Official maps and community maps. And I think that's good. I like that it's not just all cookie cutter, same map philosophy for all maps, kind of like it was in CoH2. But I just feel like, for me at least, it's not very fun to fight through this canal. And like I said, I only did play 2 matches on here, and I believe I lost both matches. So losing might have a subconscious effect on my opinion here. But yeah, I think with some cover options on the other side of the canal, trying to fight through here, even with the limited amount of cover, just never felt good to me. So I'm not sure how you could adjust that at this point. I think at this point, it's probably best to just embrace this part of the map. And maybe it just won't be for some people, but I'm sure there are people that are going to love the fighting over this canal. It almost plays like a bridge map with no choke points, if that makes sense. Like, there is kind of this no man's land, but it's not choke pointy, so you can still flank. And I think there will be some people that like that style of play. And and I think you should probably embrace it with the map. That is the main theme of the map, is the canal. It just wasn't for me personally the way it played. And yeah, as I said before, I think the lighting needs to accentuate the shadows a bit better, to make things pop a little more. Maybe, I guess the sun is kind of glinting off the mud at the right angle here, but something about the shadows feels off, like nothing really pops. But yeah, overall, I think the map is good, even though it's so much. It definitely gives it an identity, which I think is important. So yeah, nice job, Shadow Freak. That was the Battle of the Leopold Canal, was that map. The Mud and Blood, which I think got changed. I think its name is something else. Oh no, it's here. It just doesn't have the 2 before, so I always forget where it is. Again, cheat mods got turned off for some reason. Alright, this is Mud and Blood by the Sphinx. I was really happy to see this entered as a map, because for the longest time it wasn't officially entered, but I had played this map quite a few times, I feel like. Maybe 5 times against players and a couple more against AI. In its earlier iterations. I don't know if I played on the most recent iteration of the map.
Roger that. We won't reinforce without
I feel
your
like that
word.
part, these things get blown up right at the beginning. I wish there was a better way to do that in editor, so you didn't have to hear. Oh, and they disappear actually in the 1v1 auto match rotation. Not that I can think of. So I love the inclusion here. Of course, that makes this cutoff super important, because getting cut off from plus 12 is brutal. But further than that, these plus 8s are very close to the middle and very easily accessible by both sides. So even though this map has a standard amount of fuel, I think players are potentially going to be starving for fuel a lot, because they're going to have their fuel disconnected, but maybe they'll have some fuel spikes when they connect their opponent's fuel. So I think this map will play really different from other maps, and I think that's really cool. I like the layout of the sectors for this map a lot. And we'll look at the munitions quick. We have plus 10, plus 10, plus 5, plus 16. So I guess that's what, 41 on each side for a total of 82 for the whole map, which is a pretty standard amount of munitions. So let's look at the map. First thing, it's called Mud and Blood, living up to its name right away. Look at this mud. This is some beautiful mud. Just need to take a sip of my drink. Beautiful mud here, and the lighting bounces off that mud so nice at the top of your screen here. I absolutely love this texture work. We can see it's autumn. The grass has turned brown here. We've got colorful leaves on the trees, so it gives a very different color palette than we see in a lot of maps in CoH3. It actually gives kind of a more CoH2 Eastern Front color palette. And oh man, I even wanted to look this up yesterday and I forgot, but this map in the middle here reminds me of one CoH2 map that was added later in CoH2's life, and it was used in some tournaments. It had this road going down the middle here. It had a similar color palette, and I just can never remember the name of that map, but I should have looked that up. Anyway, not to get sidetracked too much here, we'll start going up here, looking at different areas. We can see this place is definitely war-torn and has some fortifications built. This is something I need to get better at with my maps, is when I'm building a war-torn style map, is including a lot, like they're building stuff here, stuff is getting destroyed, and I think this is a really good way to find heavy cover in a setting where maybe otherwise finding heavy cover to put down would be a little harder. It was a map by Trick, I think. Maybe. That sounds familiar. I just can't remember the name of it. If anyone finds it, I would love to finally get that name out there out of my mouth so I can be satisfied with that. But anyway, cutoff point on the road intersection here. Love the theming of that. I always like cutoffs on major roads. I think thematically it just makes sense. More war-torn fields here. Again, really nice texture work on this munitions point as we come up to this munitions point over here. And I just want to point out this radar station bunker here. This is amazing. So if anyone who has not used the editor doesn't know, there's no asset in the game that is just this bunker that you plop down. This was put together from multiple different assets, like Frankenstein together, and it looks amazing. Like it's got steam coming out of the vents. I don't know even how this part was done. Like this was confusing me when I was looking at it the other day. How did we just take a chunk out of the bunker? I don't know, but it's really impressive. I also found an Easter egg on this map that I'm not going to spoil here, but yeah, the detail on this bunker is amazing. And it's kind of a shame that it's just in the corner of this map, but the good news is the Sphinx is making another map. I think it's a 3v3 or 4v4 map that I think is more focused on this bunker. Brian is unconnected. If you're Brian, how's your map coming along? My map is good. That was the first map we covered today. At some point, if you want to go back in the stream and look at it, feel free. I think it's in a pretty good state, but yeah. The map was called Richnaya per... Oh, that was it. Richnaya per... I don't know how to say it, but yes, that was it. I can't say it, but anyone watching can look in the chat. Brian just said it. That was the map. I feel like this map has so many similarities to that map, and in a good way. It doesn't feel like a rip-off. Okay, it is Brian. What's up, Brian? Yeah, I think this map has a lot of similarities to the map. Maybe just in the middle. I don't really remember what the flanks of that map look like, but this middle just reminds me of it. Anyway, getting sidetracked again. So the VP layout is a pretty standard VP layout. I like that there's heavy cover here, so you can kind of fight your way back onto the VP, but it's not heavy cover that's very useful in capping the VP for the blue player here. I think that's well done. I like these little farmsteads here. Nice set dressing. Even like they dug themselves like a little drain for drainage in their own land. That's pretty cool. It makes sense if you're living in such a wet, muddy area like this. So I love that attention to detail. Yeah, actually, just all like the shell casings. Yeah, so much good attention to detail here from the Sphinx. Very beautiful map. The plus 12 fuel here, I think nice heavy cover that you can, well, maybe this heavy cover could be oppressive, but I think if anyone's actually coming down to harass this plus 12 fuel, they probably should be rewarded for that. It's a pretty far extension, but I don't know how often that's going to happen when you can just cut it off by going here. And I do like this artillery battery that kind of stretches across the map here. I think it's pretty cool. I think they're 3 guns. Yeah, 3 guns. And it just feels very lived in. You can see like the trucks delivering ammo, driving through the fields here. Like, I think the Sphinx is really good at telling a story with his maps. So yeah, it's just, I love the way this map looks and feels. And I think I said I played this map a few times. I think the map plays really well too. I think it's a very strong map in the competition. I'm not sure I have many critiques about it. I am going to try to play all of the 1v1 maps at some point in the near future. Probably get at least 2 games on each one, an allied game, an Axis game, one from each side, against a similarly ranked opponent so I can give better feedback before I type everything out. But just looking at these maps is all I'm doing today. And I do remember the only gameplay feedback I think I had was these +10s in the corner did feel maybe a little bit out of the way. But no spoilers, please. I'm far behind. No spoilers about what? I'm not sure what spoilers. I will try to avoid spoilers if I know what I'm spoiling. But yeah, I think the map plays well. I really love the unique fuel layout. I think it makes the map play very different. Not gonna lie, I thought this was an old map. He definitely made this map a while ago, but I think it was probably just after the cutoff of July 2025 or whatever. Because I did play this map a while ago and gave feedback along the way. But yeah, awesome map, Mud and Blood by the Sphinx. Highly encourage you check this out, or check out all of the maps. All the maps are in the description of the video here, in the Steam collection that GB Pirate made. But yeah, really nice map by the Sphinx. And now we're going to a map that I have not played or seen even a little bit. It was just entered into the competition last night at the deadline. Piani Falliti, I believe is what that says. Let me find it here. Here we go. I'm very excited to see what this map is. I know nothing about this map. This is going to be a discovery for me as well as you. Yeah, everyone that is watching, especially if you're not part of the competition, I do encourage you play these maps and give feedback on the map. These are all maps still being worked on as part of this competition. If you play them, leave feedback either on the Steam page or in the Discord if you're in the Discord. The mappers will look at those and consider that feedback for making iterations on their map. Personally, I find it super helpful when people leave feedback, especially it helps with things that I'm not thinking of or things that I don't see. So please do that.
Wilco. Reinforce as required, Commander.
All right, let's look at the territory layout first. So 4 manpower points. Looks pretty standard cutoffs. These are pretty aggressive cutoffs, I'd say. They look very harassable, while these are less so. So this might promote play where the blue player kind of focuses down here more and the red player up here more due to these aggressive cutoffs, because these cutoffs also cut off everything on that side of the map. There's nothing safe over here. So this +10 and +10 fuel and munitions will always be safe, but anything else over here is going to be tough, and I don't think it's going to be worth it to go out to this +5. Maybe it'll be worth it to go out to this +5. Ooh, and the munitions. The munitions makes this very interesting. +16 munitions is a big deal, and you're kind of naturally wanting to go there, but with that cutoff, maybe not. Okay, I'm interested to see the terrain here. This is really interesting. So let's look at resource count. It looks like 20 fuel on each side, so 40 fuel total. That's a standard resource count. Munitions, we have 10, 20, hold on, how do I count? 10, 20, 36. Is that it? Only 36 munitions on the map per side, so 72. So that's a low amount of munitions, which makes these +16s even more interesting. Huh. And even these +10s are out here. Like, okay, I think this map is going to play really interesting. I want to play this map like right now, but I will finish going through all these first. But I really like the territory layout, at least in concept. I'll have to see how it plays, but I like how this brutal cutoff really might change how you go about the map I think that's really interesting. So let's look at the map. First thing, I think the lighting is nice. Not sure if the angle, I think that's fine. Yeah, I like the color. Feels like sunset here. Yeah, I like the lighting. All right. Texturing so far looks good. Let's start looking at the map. Got an elevated rail line going through here. Oh, we have Anzio Annie. And what is this? Is that a health bar for Anzio Annie? Can that be destroyed? Because I did notice on the TAC map there's a little health bar. So I'll have to see what that is when I do get to play in the map. Interesting. I'm assuming this... Oh, you can get in it? Hold on. That, I'm guessing, is not supposed to be the case. Let's see what happened. Oh, okay, so that's got to be fixed, that you can get in that. I wonder if you just disable garrison on that like a normal building, but I lost my scout squad and I can't even select the weapons. That's not ideal, but whatever, that can be fixed. It looks cool though. That's the important thing. It looks cool. So yeah, I actually want to look at this cutoff first, and there is like no real cover around this cutoff. I'm actually going to have to give myself another scout just so I can check where cover is and stuff. So yeah, these barrels are light cover, but yeah, some heavy cover here. So I guess there is some opportunity to fight your way back onto the cutoff. But yeah, okay, this cutoff is pretty open, so it's going to be hard to hold for either side, which is probably good. Maybe there could be more cover for the defending player here, but maybe it's okay. I'm very interested to see how it plays. I like the grass work. Nice wheat here on the field. Some heavy cover here fighting this way. This is nice, the wall with these wagons. I never really know, like, I always feel like there should be stuff against walls. That's just like where people put stuff, is against walls, so it's out of the way. But I never know how to balance that for gameplay, because this side has green cover and this side has yellow cover, and maybe that's what you want. But then a light vehicle comes and runs this over, and now this side has heavy cover, and if that's not what you wanted, now this person just gained, like down here on the map, I don't think it's playing a big deal, but just in general, I never really could come to terms with how to properly put light cover against heavy cover things when the light cover can be crushed. But yeah, that's just a little tangent. I don't think it matters for this part of the map. I don't think this part will be seeing a whole lot of fighting. Again, really nice texturing. I like the subtle cobbles here that have a bunch of dirt on it. You know, maybe not very well maintained cobbles. Really nice set dressing with just all the barrels, the wagon, the boxes in the wagon, crates, wood. Yeah, really nice set dressing here. Really nice orchard. Okay, this is a good way to do an orchard with the baskets right below the trees. Makes it feel more orchardy than just a random assortment of trees. I'm definitely going to steal that. So, oh, I forgot to say, this map is created by Espis. I completely forgot to say that. I'm sorry. This map is created by Espis, who has one 1v1 map. I thought he had a second map. Maybe it's a team game map. But yeah, one 1v1 map in the competition. And it looks amazing. I am very much liking the way it looks. I think the engagement spaces so far seem good. I'll have to see if the engagement spaces seem balanced, like side to side. But I like this area a lot. This just more open field area, and this heavy cover here can kind of help fight for any of these spots. Some heavy cover here. The VPs are evenly spaced. I guess technically this one's probably a tiny bit closer to blue, maybe, and this one's a tiny bit closer to red. I also like where the bases are located, not in the corners. I think that's nice. I like when the bases are a little closer. Huh. Yeah, I'm really liking this map. I had no idea what to expect from this map being submitted like at the deadline. Like, was it, only partially finished or, well, it doesn't feel partially finished. It feels completely finished. I like this a lot. The way these stones kind of, wait a second. This has to be a spline, right? Because this is just a painted on texture, I assume. But these stones are turned a different way from these stones. So that's got to be a spline, right? I don't know how else you turn the stones on a tile texture. Anyway, again, getting off topic. If anyone I know we have quite a few mappers in here. I think just looking at other people's maps is such a great way to learn for your own maps, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now a little bit, I guess. Like this, never would have thought of this. Brian says you can do that with tiles. So I can have a tile oriented this way for when I paint it here, but oriented a different way when I paint it somewhere else, and it won't affect what I already painted. If so, that's something that I wish I knew before. Would have helped me on the Ortona Outskirts map. But either way, that's cool. Nice base area. I didn't look on any of the other maps, but it does look like there's plenty of room to build everything. I don't think any maps so far have looked like they'll run out of room to build stuff. Okay, and we get maybe a little bit more into an industrial complex on this side. Yeah, this is sort of industrial there, maybe. This is like maybe industrialized apple orchard or something. Wine, perhaps. Oh, there's a vineyard up here. Okay, all right. Water towers? Is that for water filtration? Oh, I like the steam coming. Maybe the steam coming out of the train is a little aggressive, especially considering it's not moving anywhere, but I like the effect. Maybe it just needs to be toned down a little. Yes, but it has to be two separate tiles. So, okay, that makes sense. So you could just add the tile twice, have one oriented one rotation, the other oriented the other rotation. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Thanks, Brian. Ooh, some water down. I didn't really look at the out of bounds on any of the maps. Maybe I should have. But I like this water here. I like how it serves as a meaningful edge to the map here. Like, some maps, which is fine, have borders that are ambiguous, but there's a reason for this border. And that's a nice bridge. Wow. All right, this is a really nice looking map. I gotta keep... It's part of the object. You cannot turn it off. Oh, I just assumed that was an effect that was added. Okay, that's interesting. Well, it's probably fine then. If it can't be changed, can't be changed. I like the tile work here. I like the little dirt mark on the road. Some logging over here. A little bit of signs of war damage. I guess there have been craters throughout. Burning things. Nice destroyed trees there. And again, another autumn map. I think we've had Leopold Canal, I think, was autumn. Mud and Blood was autumn. This is autumn. But yeah. Really annoyed me on Pisas. I wanted to make a destroyed train, but just couldn't quite do it. Oh, that's annoying, actually. Yeah, can't be destroyed if it's still producing steam. And then the safe +10 fuels the rectangle here to fit the grid of the road, I suppose. Okay, I like that. I like that. Oh, I didn't look at this cutoff, did I? Okay, so this cutoff has heavy cover over here, which same over here. I'm going to look at the cover balance now. So some heavy cover there, some heavy cover here. So it looks like there was Definitely thought put into the cover around key areas. This is garrisonable. Um, doesn't look like it's in. Oh well, maybe looking over that fuel. Nah, I think it's fine. Doesn't look like it's too dominant a position. There's a garrison over here to balance it out. Anyway, yeah, I think this map looks amazing. This might be my favorite one now. Um, we still have to look at some others. But yeah, this one's really good. I want to play on this one. I really want to see how this territory layout plays. If these cutoffs are going to be a really nice distinguishing feature of the map, or if they're going to be really annoying instead. I have a feeling it's going to play really nice as long as you're keeping that in mind. It's like almost like the crossing in the woods cutoffs, but feels like you have a little bit more opportunity to play around it rather than play through it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm very excited to try this map out. Really solid map. Nice job, Espis. I'm glad you submitted this in time for the deadline because this is a really nice map. Lighting, texturing, layout. I don't think I have any critiques now, to be honest. Maybe after I play it. Yeah, really nice job. Solid map. Are you going to have a look at any of the 2v2s? I'm interested to see what you think of Cassino. I'm very conflicted with it. I was not going to look at the 2v2s on this stream, at least. I was maybe going to do a stream to look at all the team game maps. But I will say this. I can either look at your map after I'm done with all the 1v1s on stream, or if I don't have time, I will certainly look at it on my own time and give you feedback in the Discord. But I think I should probably we only have 2 more 1v1 maps. I think I should probably have time to look at it. Alright, Villa Notturna is next, and it's called something else in here. Okay, it's called Notturna Farm in here. Alright, Notturna Farm or Villa Notturna is made by someone somewhere doing something. And I have played on this map before. Maybe 3 matches against players. 2 matches against players, maybe. A couple against AI.
Roger that. We won't reinforce
I can tell right now this map has been updated. And I'll tell you why in a second. So first, the territory layout. We have 4 manpower points. Message retracted. Oh my god, what are you typing in my stream, Brian? All right, so 4 manpower cutoffs or manpower points. 2 of them are not really cutting anything off, but the other 2, oh boy, are these cutoffs. This might be the only map in the game, well, sort of in the game, it's a mod, that 1 cutoff cuts off your entire base. So that is something to consider. I will say I've played this map a couple times, and that cutoff did not feel as brutal as it looks. That being said, I wasn't actively trying to abuse that cutoff, so I probably do need to try to play a game where I'm trying to just pin someone by constantly holding this cutoff with like an airborne battle group or something, and see if that works. That would be my primary concern with the cutoff. If it turns out that cutting off or holding that cutoff like that is not possible, then I really like the idea of this cutoff, because you do have to push really far to get for it, and you're right outside your opponent's base, so it's a difficult cutoff to get. But if you get there, you cut off everything except a +5 munition and a +5 fuel. Maybe sneaking in like a Kettenkrad or Jeep or Krodschützen or something could be pretty good. I don't know, we'll have to see. Anyway, for the rest of the resource layout, We have a plus 10 and two plus 5s on each side, so 20 fuel on each side for a total of 40 fuel. So normal fuel amount. And munitions, we have 2 plus 5s, a 10, so 20, 30, 40 munitions on each side. So 80 munitions, again, a standard munitions amount. And just like we saw in Mud and Blood, Mud and Blood, the fuels right on either side of the middle here. So very harassable fuels. And I like that, just like I did on Mud and Blood. Mud and Blood did it with plus 8s, I believe. This is plus 5s, so this won't be as punishing. But you do have these plus 10s, which are somewhat harassable. It's a bit of a hike, but you can definitely do it. So yeah, I like the resource layout overall, providing this cutoff isn't too brutal. So with that said, let's look at the map. And the first thing, which is how I know the map was updated, and I think it must have just been updated like last night because I was looking at this map yesterday, is this HQ is rotated. And that was some feedback I definitely had. It was in the corner before, just facing up, and it felt weird. There's nothing wrong with it per se, it just felt weird. So I'm glad to see this is caddy corner now. I think it feels better this way, and having your starting unit spawn here feels like it makes a lot more sense than it was spawning here, like right up against the edge before. So I like that for sure. I can also see I was on this spawn before, so maybe not. Okay, yeah, so there's some 3D grass in this base, but not in the other one. So the first thing I want to point out here is the texturing, which looks like this maybe got a little bit of texturing work with this different type of grass, some rocks, some dirt, or maybe brown grass in here. So this is broken up a little, but you can still see like the tiling. Tiling's a repeating pattern in the texture. You can see this constant like 2 notches here, just constantly repeating. And that's partially due to what texture you chose as your tile here, but it's also partially down to just blending other textures with it to hide that tiling. I will say some of the textures you can choose from have really bad tiling, some don't. This one does have pretty bad tiling. It might be worth looking at a new grass, but I mean, the map is already... I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I think, to experiment with a grass that maybe has less tiling, because it would make this issue seem a lot better or less worse. But yeah, having that tiling, you want to get rid of that. Either change the base grass, and even if you do change the base grass, you should also work on adding more of this kind of detailing with the other textures in here. And also splats and splines are your friend. You know, if this is someone's using this as a forward operating base area, they're probably at vehicles through here. There's probably a lot of people walking through here. So there might be vehicle tracks. There might be footprints. There's probably just grass torn up that's not here anymore, and maybe it should be dirt. Especially if you think like where they come out of this building, where maybe they're coming off of this road or coming through these hedges. You might want to experiment with blending that type of stuff in. I think that would help your map a lot with the texturing. And we'll look at other areas. I noticed when I was looking yesterday, granted the map's been updated since then, that there were some areas that I thought were really strong with the texturing, and you just need to kind of do that kind of detailing throughout the map. Yeah. And then the other thing, the lighting. I'm not sure about the lighting. I don't know if I can give good advice on how to do nighttime lighting. Actually, maybe Brian would be a good person to ask for that, because I think he has a... Yeah, he does have... I don't know if it's live, Brian, but I know you were working on a transition from nighttime to sunrise, which I thought looked amazing. Even if you just kept that starting night lighting, I thought that night lighting looked really good. But yeah, this lighting I don't think is doing your texturing any favors. It's not necessarily a problem, the lighting. Like, it might be fine, but I just don't think right now it's helping with the textures the way they look. But anyway, we'll keep going here. Yeah, so I can see you have some... It is live. Okay, great. So we'll look at that. And maybe I will just look at that then on stream, because I only have one more 1v1 map, and maybe then I can try to help give some advice on the night lighting, but lighting is still something. I've literally only done it twice, one for my first map, one for my second map, and it's very much trial and error. I made it very dark, but added a bright fog. Okay, so there's an idea. Maybe a bright fog. I also think I remember it was pretty blue. I think blue light is a good way to make things have more light without it seeming like it's brighter. But I do want to point out these destroyed walls here. So like here, this looks good. I would maybe try to line this up a little better so it feels like it was a continuous wall. But when you're doing these destroyed walls, instead of just putting these splats, I would also, there are like some stone rubble things you can put in to make it feel like there are pieces of that wall. I think that would help make that pop a little, especially if you're going to do a full destroyed section here. I would maybe even take like two of these broken pieces, put them side by side, and like just put it somewhere here just to make it feel like it seems weird that the wall got completely destroyed along this whole front here. Wanted it to look like it was a full moon. Yeah, I'm ready to look. I'm definitely gonna look once I'm done with the 1v1 maps. How could I not look at a Brian map? All right. As we exit the base here, water. The water is very blue. I don't think that's a problem, but it is very blue. I kind of like it. Maybe it's too blue. Maybe it's not. I'll let other people be the judge of that, but I kind of like it the way it is. Okay, so this field, yeah, you definitely just need more texturing. And I see you have some 3D grass. Nope, that's not 3D grass. That's just maybe some variation in the texture. So this is good. Like I think if you do this in more spots, I do like that you added some dirt around this tractor, but maybe think about how the tractor got here. Did it tear up some grass on its way over here through this path? Stuff like that, just to work on the texturing a bit. But as far as the engagement spaces, you have the light cover within the resource point here. I think that's fine. You have the heavy cover over here, and then some craters. I would maybe try to make this feel a little more lived in. Like, why is this ammo crate here? Like, I know gameplay wise it's here because this is a munitions point, but were the Allies or were the Germans using this place as like a little depot? Was maybe they put some artillery here, they needed some ammo storage? Why would they just dump a box of ammo here is kind of something you want to think about, and answering that question is going to guide you in how you dress up this area to feel more lived in. Plus 10 fuel up here. Nice pathway. I will say I like this path over here. I like how if there's a machine gun guarding your fuel and or victory point, you have this kind of flanking route along the edge of the map. I think that's pretty cool. Get to the cutoff up here. Munitions. Yeah, I think I'm not going to keep talking about it. Just the main feedback is working on the texturing, but this is a better spot. I'm actually just going to go right down here. I think this is where it was really good. Yeah, like this field, I think looks really nice. Obviously, you have the plow marks with the splines, which helps, and you don't need that. But just the variation in color, you can kind of see like this tractor came through this area and now it's a little torn up. Like it's telling a bit more of a story. And this area too. I think this is a really good example of an area that has less stuff, but it still looks nice because you have the texture variation. You do a good job with the 3D grass here. The lowland has mud, which makes sense. So I think this is kind of what you should aim for any area that you want just open field and grass. You should aim for this kind of texturing where you're really putting a lot of variation in there and trying to make it feel more organic. That being said, you don't need every area to be empty grass. You can, like light cover, you can add light cover pretty much anywhere. Light cover gets crushed by light vehicles, ultralights very easily. So it's not something you have to consider as much with balancing as you do with heavy cover, which is something I had to learn over the course of mapping last year. But yeah, and again, you just want to tell this story a little. Why is this stuff here? If it is here, maybe emphasize that it's here by putting some dirt underneath. It helps this stuff pop a little better. But anyway, we'll come back up here where I left off. I like this little barn area. Makes sense with all this farmland. Like they need to have some kind of infrastructure for the crops and stuff. I like that. Nice plowed fields here again. I like the way these pathways look. I think this is a good choice of dirt color for your pathways. And I like this is a line of sight blocker, I believe. Let's see. Maybe this is too. Yeah, so that blocks line of sight. This part blocks line of sight. I do remember playing this map. I thought the amount of things that blocked line of sight felt really good, except for the middle. And I haven't looked at, I want to see if you changed the middle. Because that was the big, as far as gameplay flow, the middle was like really the big area I had feedback on. I thought the rest of the map played really well. But yeah, fuel here. The big humongo cutoff here, and I see this cover area changed a little, so there's now a boat for like cover here, so you can maybe have some cover while you cap it back as this player. Okay, this still has this stone wall, and let me turn the fog of war back off. I think this is potentially an issue. A player trying to harass this cutoff has a lot more cover available than a player trying to harass this cutoff. You can capture this cutoff, possibly get a model or two onto this truck while you capture, and have some heavy cover while you capture. You can then move fully up to the truck after you capture, or move back here to this heavy cover. And it can be, I think, pretty punishing. I didn't even look at the MGs. Oh, that's cool. Okay, kind of like that, sorry. I think it could get pretty brutal with the heavy cover here, especially compared to the lack of heavy cover availability here. This truck feels slightly further away from the cutoff, but I might honestly just move this truck further back. I know it feels like you're trying to give the player an opportunity to fight back for their cutoff, which I like, but maybe it's too close to the cutoff. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it might be. But yeah, the big stone walls on the other side compared to nothing here is, I think, the big thing. Some heavy cover over here. Also, this definitely feels like it should be heavy cover, unless you're not allowed to walk there. But yeah, I would definitely look at that. It's a pretty big disparity. Okay, this is a pretty nice field. Yeah, this texturing's good. This is what you want to aim for. Nice field. It looks like you have very subtle plow marks, which I think is well done, if that is what I'm seeing. They don't all need to be super noticeable like here. I like that there is some dirt and mud through the probably commonly traveled walk path. Maybe do the same thing over here. You sort of do it here. So yeah, that's the kind of thing you want to go for. Where are these people walking? And you can extend that further. Like maybe there's something out of bounds here. Maybe there's a house here or something, and people are walking there. You can include that, these walk paths. Or maybe it's just a field, and that's fine. But definitely these areas, I like having the dirt. There's munitions down here. So this is something I wanted to point out. There's a garrison and heavy cover on this +10 munitions. The mirror only has this light cover and this heavy cover far away. I don't know how often these plus 10 munitions will be fought over given where they are on the map. That's definitely something you want to consider, though. It doesn't, like, just because there's a garrison here doesn't mean there has to be a garrison over here, but it, actually, I should make sure. Can you even get, okay, you can't even get in this garrison, so that point is moot. Never mind, forget what I said. But the heavy cover, having heavy cover to cap in here and only light cover here is, oh, you just said it's not a garrison. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's something you want to pay attention to. The heavy cover is very important. Again, I don't know if it matters so much where it is on the map, but just something you want to watch out for. And I think it was the same thing with this VP. You can use this heavy cover when capping this VP. This VP has no heavy cover. And I like the barrels. But yeah, no heavy cover here. That's very important. Like on this munitions point, it might not matter. Might not be fought over too much. But these VPs will definitely matter. You don't want to have heavy cover in one and not heavy cover in the other. Let's see. Sorry, we'll come back over here. And, okay, the middle. So the middle, I think, is the same from the last time I played. I don't know if this little thing was here last time. Maybe it was. But, oh, is this? Oh, no, it's not blocked off. But some of the windows are blocked off. My main problem with the gameplay flow last time I played was the middle. I thought the rest of the map was really cool with these line of sight blockers, almost playing sort of like Normandy hedgerows. I thought it was a really nice, it made for really nice engagements. You could use team weapons to dominate like a certain field, but it couldn't just dominate a whole flank. But this middle is where I felt it was much harder to play. Team weapons just are kind of impossible to use in here, it felt. I think having this garrison here is okay. I know it's having a garrison on a central victory point especially is very controversial, but I don't think it just should never be done. I think it can be okay. But I think this garrison surrounded by all these tall walls and hedges makes this area very cramped, and you can't really use team weapons in here. I would suggest maybe moving this garrison down here and making it non-enterable, opening up some of these walls here and here, and probably opening up this wall somewhere so like AT guns and stuff can get through here, because right now only vaulting infantry can get through here. And I think that would help this area feel a lot better for engagements. And you can kind of extend this courtyard down here, because I get this is like the villa, and it's called Villa Notturna, or I don't remember what the other name for it is, but Villa Notturna. So yes, there should be a villa here. It makes sense, but I would just maybe spread it out more. Put this over here, make it non-garrisonable. Yeah. But that was my, like, gameplay flow wise, this is the area that needs work. The rest of the map felt really good. Fun fact, you don't need to vault that wall. They can path through them. Okay, well that's interesting.
We've been told where. Let's break them down and move.
Huh. I both like that and don't like that. I like that for your map because I think that's good for your map. But I don't like that because that is not intuitive to the player at all. Brian says, I'd like to see a bigger villa, something more grand. Yeah, that could actually make a lot of sense too. Like if this villa extended east-west, maybe it's kind of hard with the way the roads are laid out, but it's more of a farm. It is, it's not like a huge villa, but I guess I don't know the technical classification of a villa, but it feels like it could be considered a villa. I don't know. But yeah, making this more of a focal point could be nice. And then even like if you kept all the walls, it might feel better if it's not all in one confined space. And even if the villa included these +5s, that would be really interesting, actually. Oh, okay, Notturna Farm. Notturna Farm. That's what it's called in game. I couldn't remember what it was called. Well, that makes sense too. Well, I would say that's something you should think about. Do you want to embrace the villa part of it? And if so, I think Brian's suggestion to make this bigger and more grand would be a good idea. Or if you want to rename it Notturna Farm and just make it focused more on some farmland in the rural Italy countryside, then I would maybe go with something closer to my suggestion where you just open this up a bit more. Maybe something that was old German HQ that was overrun by advancing Allied forces. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, I think if you're going to go with a big villa thing, it makes sense. Like Germans would definitely turn something like that into an HQ. I really want to see this area worked on in some way, whether it's embracing the farm aspect and just opening this area up, or embracing the villa aspect and making this a bit more grandiose. I think that either one will definitely help the flow of the map. But I will say the villa being more grandiose, I think, would kind of give this a more unique identity. But I'm sure that would also require a lot more work. But it might be worth it. Because like I said, this map plays really well. Like along the edges, all this fighting up here and down here felt really good. These engagement spaces felt good. This was the only area the engagement space did not feel very good. Yeah, I would really love to see you workshop this more. And every time you update it, if you just put in your Discord channel for the map that you've updated it, I will gladly test it. I can always find one other person to test 1v1s, so testing 1v1s is not a problem. And I want to see this map be successful because I think it has a lot of potential gameplay flow-wise once this area is cleaned up. And then after that, you just need to work on the visuals. So, with that being said, you have another map. Let's check that one out. Oh, and I also want to check out those cutoffs on Villa Notturna, or Notturna Farm. Valle di San Martino. Yeah, you tell him, Brian. Make the change. That's actually a really good point. You made some massive changes to Bologna during the comp, so don't be afraid to make them. I was afraid to make massive changes to Ortona Outskirts during the comp, and I ended up making those massive changes that I was thinking about after the competition ended, and I wish I made those massive changes earlier, because I think the map is really good now, but it was too late. So yeah, don't make that mistake. I think the map has potential. It does need that work, but you should just buckle down and do it at some point, because the engagement spaces everywhere but the middle feel really good. And I like the territory layout with the way the +5s are on either side of the middle there. And I think you could incorporate that into a large villa in the middle there. But yeah, let's check out your other map, Valle di San Martino. All right, let's see. Let's see the map.
Wilco.
It's so hard to bite the
Reinforcements
bullet
required,
sometimes. It
Commander.
is. You're like, I don't want to redo all this. All right. So territory layout. We have looks like just 2 manpower points on this map, both serving as pretty brutal cutoffs. East, similar to oh shoot, I went to a different screen on my other monitor. Similar to Piani Falliti, the Espis map we looked at. These cutoffs feel very similar to that, and there are very contestable fuels here. So fuel wise, we have +10, very safe +5, and +5. So looks like a total of 40 fuel. So standard fuel amount. And then we have 5, 15, 31, 36, 41 munitions on each side. So 82 munitions for the map. Again, standard amount there. Let's look at the layout. So it's very boxy, the territory sectors, which, based on what I'm seeing on the minimap, looks like segmented fields. So I like when I see boxy territories that it fits the terrain. So we'll see when we actually look, but judging from this, it looks like it might fit the terrain. I don't think boxy territories when it doesn't fit the terrain is very good, but this looks like it fits. I'm not sure about these +5s down here. I don't think they will almost ever be harassed, and they seem like they will be really annoying to capture at the beginning. Like, who are you going to send there? Not sure about that. What else? Yeah, and then these cutoffs. Yeah, fuel. Well, I guess these cutoffs aren't super accessible, and we'll have to see what the terrain looks like, because they are pretty close to the base. So maybe that's okay. Yeah, actually, I think the cutoffs will be fine. They're accessible for sure, but they're not right up front. Okay. All right, let's look at the map. So, see, the base area is not quite finished yet. That's fine. Lots of 3D grass here. This is something Dutch Toast. I don't know if Dutch Toast is still in here watching, but the grass, he does 3D grass like almost everywhere on his map, and he makes it look so good somehow. I feel like whenever I do it, it does not look good. I feel like your 3D grass everywhere looks a lot better than when I do it, but I think it still needs some work. Maybe just variation in the height. Maybe that's it a little. I don't know. I feel like it needs some work. I'm not good enough with 3D grass to say exactly what it needs. But I would definitely get with like Dutch Toast on that one, because he does 3D grass probably better than anyone. I didn't have time to texture stuff. That's fine. Yeah. All right. So I will ignore most of the texturing stuff for this one. I'll look at how the engagement spaces feel. My big thing right now is I don't know about that. I don't know about that fuel down there. I'm actually going to come this way first and go to this cutoff. Ooh, okay. I imagine that's an elevation bonus there. So that could be pretty brutal. Elevation looking down on your cutoff. I like the way this looks, though. A church up on the hill, the winding road there. Maybe try to have this spline follow the road a bit better. It kind of juts out here. But yeah, I like this. So I see a lot of fall foliage. I think there have been a lot of fall 1v1 maps entered. It's a blanket of grass roughness. That's all I did. Okay. I keep my 3D grass to patched and work it in with the textures. Yeah, Brian, that's what I do. I try to use the 3D grass to accentuate areas. And I feel like what Dutch Toast does, like in CoH3 mapping, was like frowned upon, but he makes it look so good somehow. He's just very good with it. That spline sucks. It snaps to angles. Oh. That's kind of sucky. Well, either work on that or maybe pick a different spline. I think the spline itself looks fine. Just that weird one angle feels weird. All right, we'll come out here. I like that you use these root splats, but maybe elevate the terrain a little with it, make it feel a little more 3D rather than just being flat there. If you just slightly elevate the terrain around it, it'll make it feel like the roots are actually popping out of the ground a little there. This is a cool spot. Little house with the walls here. I wonder... So this one has a door on this side. This one has no door on this side. I guess the door's on the sides. Oh, because if you put the door facing when there's only 2 windows. Okay, that's probably fine. I don't think the door facing is that big a deal if the doors are on the sides. And I don't know how much these fuels will be harassed anyway, being where they are. I like the use of elevation throughout the map so far, and the way these rocks are done feels good. These vineyards, I am so hesitant to put vineyards because of light vehicle pathing, but it looks like you've left ample room for pathing this way. And maybe they can path through here, but if not, I think being able to go through here and here should be fine. But that's something you want to pay attention to as you test it, is light vehicle pathing through these vineyards. But I think it should be okay. And this is a VP. Actually, I didn't look at the VP layout. Okay, VPs look pretty balanced as far as distance from each other. So it doesn't look like this is like a blue favored one. This is a red favored one or anything. Okay, big church. Oh, okay. Ooh. So big church controls the VP, which is maybe okay. But it also controls this fuel. And I think that's where it's not okay, because this fuel does not have an equally dominant thing. And I imagine this church is slightly closer to the blue player because the blue's on the right. And that could make a big difference, especially since it also controls the fuel here. I would maybe, oh man, this looks nice, but I don't know. Yeah, this is the big balance issue. I agree. This is a tough one. Like, you've built a nice cemetery area with the church, but I don't know if that's gonna work well. I think you could make it work if these fuels weren't right here. I think that's maybe the big issue. Because then you could, like, readjust things so this church is kind of on an angle here. So you could make it so either side could get to one of these doors at the same time, or roughly the same time, if you like put it on an angle here instead. But you can't do that with having this fuel here. Make it quite destroyed. If it's destroyed to the point where it's not enterable, but I think if it's enterable, even in the early game, that could cause some issues. Again, especially because it controls one of the fuels here. Yeah. I want to look at the rest of the map before I give more feedback on that, because I like the way the map feels. Obviously, like you said, you're not done with the texturing and stuff, so that's fine. I think the base palette looks nice. I like the idea of using a lot of 3D grass. Actually, it is autumn. So I don't know, actually, if all the 3D grass will make a lot of sense. Unless you make it a lot more yellow or something. Something to consider. I think that one I won't know until I see it. But just remember that it is autumn. So keep that in mind when you're doing your grass. Yeah, I definitely think I'm not a fan of these fuels in the corner here. I should play it first before I commit to that feedback, and I will play it before I actually type up feedback. But my gut feeling is that those fuels are not ideal. But I really do love this elevation. One thing that always gets me is like these rocks here, because of the way that they're just visuals and you have to ooh, actually that's a really nice piece of rock there. I like that. I always feel like there should be heavy cover around these rocks. And I think it's probably fine that you don't, because so many maps don't have that. I just always feel like it should be there. But that would make these positions very dominating if there was also heavy cover, to be fair. But, okay, yeah. So, let me gather my thoughts here. So, I want to touch on the squareness of the sectors. I think the squareness of the sectors fits the map. So, I do like that. Like I said at the beginning, I like when there are square sectors that they fit the map, which I think these do. So that's good. Ooh, let me catch up on the chat. Sorry. Look at Bacon's CoH3 map, Schilberg outskirts, for inspiration. That has the same situation with the church, a prominent church. Okay, I'll have to look at that before I type up some feedback. Well, no, I think square sectors are okay, like I said, as long as they fit the map. Like, this is a rectangle graveyard. Absolutely makes sense. This farm, very rectangular. So, makes sense. Like, everywhere I look, I think the squareness makes sense. I just don't like it when it's on maps and the terrain does not also represent these right angles. Then I don't think it makes sense. I think for this map, it does make sense. So I don't think that's something you need to change. I mean, if you want to change it, go ahead. It's your map. I think you should do that then. But I like it this way. I think it fits. Yeah, I think I want to talk about the resources, because I think having a prominent church here is okay if it doesn't also control a fuel. And again, maybe angle it slightly. So the doors can be reached by either player equally quickly. But with these +5 fuels being so close and these +5 fuels being kind of... I don't like them. I'd like to see maybe a +10 fuel instead on either side. So this map would have 2 +10 fuels on either side. I feel like the natural spot for them is where these +16 munitions are, though. But I think that would maybe make for some nice play. Maybe it's too close to the middle that way, but maybe not. I could block the red side door. Block the red... No, the red side, I think, is the longer path to get there. Unless you mean that this door is red. Maybe if you blocked this door and this door, and then you can only get in this door, that would make things interesting. That'd also make grenades on the exit a lot more of a threat, which would maybe help balance out the prominence of the building. But I kind of wonder what a +10 fuel here. Oh, blue side. Okay, that would make more sense. Yeah, +10 fuel here and a +10 fuel here. Feel like might, and then get rid of these +5s, and then of course you need to find a spot to put more munitions. I don't know. I like the way this map is looking. I think the engagement areas other than this feel like they're going to be pretty good. I guess I didn't look at, like, this has heavy cover, this doesn't, so that's something you need to consider. The heavy cover on the VPs, probably heavy cover throughout. Like, the heavy cover doesn't need to be mirrored one-to-one, but there needs to be a balance. So if, like, there's heavy cover here and there isn't here, then what does this offer? And I think that's important because one of these VPs is probably slightly closer, and the way the territory is laid out, one side is going to be more incentivized to play one side versus the other. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm very interested to see both your maps receive more work, because especially that Villa Notturna I have played before. and I thought it was very fun, except for that middle. Oh yeah, you can't do mids. I guess that is the main problem with both of your maps, but I think Villa Notturna is there's at least a clear solution there. This one you have to kind of figure out a solution. Excuse me, figure out a solution. Yeah, I like where this map is headed though. I'd like to see you really like work on Villa Notturna and get that in tip top shape, because I think that is a lot further along than this one. But I really like the color palettes and the lighting on this one. This looks like it would be a very pleasant map to play, pleasing to the eye. But yeah, I'm excited. You got two maps in here. I think both of them have real potential. They both need work, but they both have real potential. I hope you have time to do both. I think you need to definitely think about that if you have time to do both. And if you do, then fantastic. But yeah, I'm excited to try this one out. I'm going to try to get some 1v1s on all the competition maps throughout the week, and I'll post them in the channels when I do, and then I'll write up my feedback after playing on them. But yeah, looking good for the most part here. And then we were only going to do 1v1s, but since Brian's here, we're going to look at Cassino. Look at all the 1v1 maps I'm subscribed to. And then the team game maps. Ooh, I have more 4v4 maps. Oh, I think they're mostly from the last competition. Anyway, Cassino. Ooh, okay. Let me pull that up here. Let me open this up in a browser here. Alright, so this is what Brian sent me. A picture of the map from Schill, or the church from Schill. I'm not sure, Brian, do you know where in the image the VP and the fuel would be? You said it's not shown in the image. I do miss winter maps. Would love to make a winter map. Well, for now, I will get back into the game and we'll see if Brian gets back with that. VP is south and fuel north. So is it like VP's probably down here on the road or something, and is the fuel like up in that courtyard? Because if that's the case, the church doesn't really control the fuel. It only does if the fuel's like right here. Okay, you can shoot upon both points from the church. Okay. Okay. Well, either way, someone somewhere doing something. You should maybe take a look at this map in CoH3 if you have CoH3. It's called what? Just Schill, Schill. I'm gonna look at it too, probably if I still have CoH3 installed. Actually, I don't know if I even still have it installed. Yeah, it will give you some inspiration, hopefully. Now, let's take a look at Cassino. I did look at this map once. I think when you first announced it. But I haven't seen the most recent update, and I haven't seen with the weather transition, or the lighting transition. And this is going to be the first map we look at today with a lighting transition, I believe. Schilberg Outskirts is what it's called. Okay. And while we're loading, just a reminder to everyone, the workshop collection of all the maps in this competition are in the description below. Please check them out, try them out, and if you do try them out, leave some feedback for the mapper, either on the Steam page or if you are in the World Builder Discord, put it there. But it does help the mappers a lot to have that feedback.
Roger that. We won't reinforce without your word.
Just give me 1 second. I gotta blow my nose. All right, sorry about that. Oh, I want to look at this lighting first. So before I look at the territory layout, let's look at this night lighting. It's very nighty. Those fire effects maybe need to be a little bit more inside the building or something. Anyway. Okay, yeah, the lighting's nice. I like the moonlight reflecting off on the corner here from the water. The shadows feel prominent enough where things pop. I will say I wouldn't want to play an entire match on this lighting, I don't think. Maybe it would be okay. But I know that's not the case anyway. We won't have to play the entire match on this lighting. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is some pretty good night lighting. I think this is better than Pacino's night lighting. Pacino Stalemate, not Pacino Farmland. I don't know what lighting Pacino Farmland is. But yeah. All right, let's look at the layout of the map. First thing, I feel like the map is a little narrow for a 2v2, which I personally like. But I'm not much of a team game player, so I like the smaller maps. I don't know what most like of the 2v2 community feels about that, but I kind of like it. Beyond that, interesting cutoff situation at the front of each base. Like it cuts off sort of everything on this side, but I guess if you had all this connected, you could... Okay, that's interesting. Huh. Interesting cutoffs. I feel like I have to play this to fully understand how and when that would come into play. But I guess in a 2v2, it's going to be pretty unlikely that people get down to these cutoffs anyway. So maybe it's just not a huge part of the map. If you rotate the camera, you can see how intense the fog is. Oh, let me do that. Or did I wait too long? Well, oh no, I can see like that the fog's very dense. It doesn't look very blue, but we're like a third of the way into the transition now. Oh, one thing I did notice. I love that you have the Abbey up there. I think that's so cool. There's some ruins here. I did notice that the other day in the out of bounds there. I think that's a real nice touch. The fog helps it feel a lot brighter than it is. Okay, that makes sense. That's how it works in like Unreal Engine lighting. That makes sense. I do like how quick the transition starts to feel like morning. Now this feels firmly like morning, and we're not even 4 minutes in. I think some transitions take a little too long to get to lighting that's a little more good for gameplay. All right, but with the resource layout, we've got 555, 55. Ooh, wait a second. So there's 15 per side and then a +5 contested fuel. So this is really interesting because if you don't control the middle fuel, 6 minutes is the transition. I think a lot of people do 10-minute transitions. I think that's a little too long. I like the 6-minute transition. Like, it feels like the timing on it is going to be much better. But the fuel situation is very interesting. So only 15 per side and then a +5 in the middle. So if you want a standard amount of fuel income for your standard timings, you have to control the middle. And if you don't, you're going to feel starved of fuel. So it's very cutthroat. So only 35 fuel on the map when normal is 40. I think that can be a good thing. I don't know. Some people might not like it, but I like the idea that this fuel is very important. Munitions, we have 20, 36. So again, not a whole lot of munitions on each side and a +10 in the middle. So the middle of this map is just important through and through. The VPs, the fuel, the munitions, everything. Like, if you want to have an advantage, you need to control the middle. So actually, that's really interesting, because I said this map felt kind of narrow for a 2v2, but considering that you really need to try to control like the whole middle, it's not going to play as narrow as it looks. Did my internet died? Oh, and my internet died. I can read. Well, I guess it's back now at least. Something different from Bologna has a very safe points. That's very safe points. Yeah, Bologna has the safe +10s. It has the +5s kind of on either side of the middle, if I remember it. The +5 fuels, one like on one side of the tower, the other in like that little courtyard. So those +5s can be harassed. So I don't think that part's super safe. But I do like the idea of the layout for this map. The middle is very important through and through. Okay, building here. See, this building works even though it controls the VP and munitions, because the munitions it controls is a middle contested munitions. It doesn't control like the red side's munitions or the blue side's munitions. So I think it works for that reason. I also just like the design of this house in general, that has so many windows facing these ways but has no windows facing these ways. I think that's nice for gameplay, so you can still approach, and it's only very strong in certain directions. Okay, sorry, I'm just like looking at the whole middle because I'm very intrigued by how this will play. I wish you made a 1v1 map, because I know I am almost never going to play a 2v2 map. But this looks so good, and I'm so intrigued by this resource layout. Wow. Only one enterable building on the map, so it's that one, yeah? Okay, that's cool. I think it's crazy. This is now like the second very urban map you've made. And this one probably has more total buildings than Bologna, just because it's a bigger map and only has one enterable building. And Bologna only has like 4 maybe that I can think of. That's funny. Okay. Okay, yeah, let me look at the visuals of the map now, because I looked at this before and I think it's great. I will say, like, maybe this part's just not completely done yet, but this part feels a little weird, and you can see like all the tiling. I'm guessing that's just not done yet, but because everything else that does look done looks amazing. Oh, and this is a question I had for you, Brian. So this muddy area, is this supposed to be like frozen mud, or is this just like foam that's sitting up here? Because from up here it looks like it's frozen, but then when you zoom in, you can see like the water moving a little, and this foam slate like moves and then kind of goes back. I would love if you made a 1v1 of this. Like, I would absolutely love that. Yeah, I think you should definitely do a 1v1. I mean, of course I'm going to say that. I really only play 1v1, but yeah. I'm curious about that. It's foam. Okay. If that's the case, I think maybe it needs to be changed up slightly, because to me, I kept thinking it's like ice. which I think it would be cool if it was like icy mud too. But yeah, I constantly think ice when I see this. But yeah, I love how you're doing like these craters with the water filled in, and how this road like is just completely flooded here. I think this whole like area is so well done. You have like all the embers from all the destruction here. You just do destruction so well. And yeah. Oh, who was I saying it to? Was it Shadow Freak that made that map? Let me see here. Shadow Freak for Battle of the Leopold Canal. I was talking about maybe getting a phone call. I was talking about with the ruins, using elevated terrain with like splats on top. This is what I was talking about. Like you just elevate the terrain, and then you can put the right texture on top to make that look like rubble. So you're not just solely relying on the 3D assets. And it just helps it feel like, look how much rubble like it looks like there is. It's up halfway up the window here. I think this is a great way to do rubble. So that was the feedback I was giving Shadow Freak on Leopold Canal. I think that's so well done. You make, I don't know, like anyone who's used the Essence Editor knows there are not a whole lot of assets in there. Like there's certainly plenty like to make good maps, but the variety of destroyed building you manage to do with what's available in Essence Editor is truly impressive. But yeah, we'll keep looking here. God, you can see like where this would go up, maybe closer toward the actual abbey or something. Yeah, I think, man, this is so cool. This is, you are like the god of destroyed cities in this game. If you told me you made the campaign maps with the destroyed cities, I would believe you. But yeah, I like this elevated area. I feel like you had this similar style thing on the edge of Bologna too. But I like it. This is so nice. It's like how broken this is. Muddy. Yeah, I think fighting around this VP will be nice. Like the heavy cover here is pretty neutral. This heavy cover favors that side, but you have the same thing over here. I like that. Okay, so this is wire, but you can still get cover there. Okay, works out. Ooh, this is nice. You can go in here. Okay, this is really nice. Yeah, I think this, I am gonna play this map at some point. Hopefully I can get enough people together to be with players, not AI. This is nice too, how this field is flooded with some parts still sticking above the mud. Yeah. Yeah, this is really well done. Visually, this is amazing. Like, I think visually this looks better than Bologna. And I like where the lighting settled. I think this is nice lighting. It feels like the morning. A morning I would not want to wake up to be fair. But someone had to. Yeah. I'm mostly interested to see how this plays with the resource layout. I really like the idea that you are going to have less than a normal income of resources unless you control the middle. I think that'll be some really unique gameplay. Oh, and these are plus 16s as well. This is interesting. So that means losing it is really going to hurt, and it's closer to the middle, but it also means it's longer to cap, so it's going to be harder to lose it. I think I remember reading, you said in the Discord somewhere that like you don't like, or you either you don't like it as much or you're not as good as the gameplay flow side of things. But I think this is a really interesting setup. for the gameplay flow. And in fact, I think a lot of the maps that I looked at today have really interesting setups for the gameplay flow. Even, let me think. So, Mud and Blood, yeah, has the +12s and the +8s that are right in the middle. Piani Falliti has those really aggressive cutoffs that kind of make you want to go toward the further resources. Villa Notturna also has the +5 fuels that are close to the middle. Valle di San Martino has not as aggressive cutoffs as Piani Falliti. And then even the Battle of the Leopold Canal has those fuels close to mid. I think those are +10 fuels on that map. So yeah. Mine is the only map that doesn't have, like, I guess it has the +8s that are, so they're like 4 contestable fuels, so maybe. Yeah, I think we have some really interesting territory layouts for all the maps we looked at today. And anyone who wants to make a destroyed city map, just open one of Brian's maps and just look at it. And that is your blueprint. This is so good. Even how you used all these, like, I feel like it's so hard to figure out how to use these stupid little roof destroyed pole things. Yeah, this is nice. All right. Yeah, any other questions before I shut down the stream, or any maps that you particularly wanted me to look at? I would just look at all the maps, but there are a lot of maps, and I don't want to spend another few hours looking at all of them, but maybe at some point I'll do another stream looking at all the team game maps. There are some nice ones that I looked at. There is at least one new one, Trasiello e Ferro. Oh, and Monte Pulciano. Oh, Radar Station Mammoth by the Sphinx. I didn't realize that was in the competition. That's the other one I was talking about that features that radar station from Mud and Blood. That's cool. No problem, Brian. Really nice map. I really like that it's a nice map, but I dislike that it's probably going to beat my map again. So, you know, thanks for that. No, it's an awesome map. God, yeah. Yeah, we have so many nice maps. Yeah, so yeah, I'll try to get some 1v1 games on the 1v1 maps, and then I'll type up my detailed feedback in the Discord channels as well. Anyone watching that's not part of the competition, again, all the maps are in the description below. Which of these maps will I find to be garbage and which are the best ever? I need a ranking. All right. All right. Hold on. Maybe I will try to rank these actually, because I will have to score all the 1v1 maps eventually since I submitted a 1v1 map. But first, all the maps are in the description below. There's a Steam collection link in the description that'll bring you right to the page with all of the maps in the competition. Please check out those maps and leave feedback on the Steam page or in the Discord channel if you are part of the Discord. It helps the mappers out a lot to have that feedback. Things you liked, things you didn't like, how the map flow felt, stuff like that. So now, which of these maps will I find to be garbage and which are the best ever? I need a ranking. Well, I will say I don't think any of them are garbage. And the only one that might be the best ever is Cassino, which is a 2v2 map. But yeah, let me bring them up here. I'll try to rank them really quick. Love seeing the content around the maps. Hey, someone's got to do it, Brian. I don't make any YouTube videos ever. That's not true. I make like 1 or 2 live streams a month. So I have 0 following because I don't post regularly, but I will always make content for this mapping competition because new maps is one of the most exciting things you can have in Co. A new battlefield to play on. But yeah, let me try to map these really quick. Just the 1v1 maps. Ooh, this is tough. I feel like Piani Falliti by Espis is probably my favorite. I think it's so good. Granted, I haven't played on it yet, but I think it looks so interesting. Then my second favorite is probably my map, Agrigento. How's my squad map coming along? Ho ho! What a question, Brian. Hold on, let me finish ranking these, and then we'll talk about that. The third map for me is probably Mud and Blood. I think that was a really fun map to play. The fourth map, I think, is Villa Notturna, even with the messed up middle. If that middle gets cleaned up, that's going to jump 1 or 2 spots ahead, I think. I want to see that middle fixed. The fifth map for me is probably Battle of the Leopold Canal. It's a shame. I think that map looks so nice visually. I just don't like the way the flow is. And then the last map, Villa di San Martino, mostly because it's just not very complete yet. Yeah, that would be my ranking of the 1v1 maps. How is your squad map coming along? Brest would be a cool co-map, I feel. So, I think the map is doing really well. We've had a bunch of public tests on it. It's not quite finished yet, but for the most part, the areas being played on are finished. And RH131 in the chat here is the one who's making that map with me. Can I don't know how much I want to show on whatever. Me see if I can bring up. I don't know if we have like any screenshots or anything of the map on Steam. We probably don't. Oh, sorry. This is Squad 44, not Squad. It's Squad 44. I don't think there are any screenshots on the Steam page. The Steam page isn't even loading. Let's see. Where can I find pictures or... There are some videos of matches being played on it on my YouTube channel. We do not because we are lazy. I do some in the post on the main Discord. Okay, I'll check the main Discord for some pictures there. Let's see. Main Discord. Yeah, if you want to see like a bunch of the map, you can see some videos on my YouTube channel, but I'll try to pick up or find some pictures here that RH posted on the main Discord. I keep seeing Boogie 5 videos about Brest on the main Discord. Where? Oh, did I scroll too far? It was a post made by you, RH? We have a forum. You can tell I never go on the main Discord. I don't know where anything is. Here, let me bring it up on screen here. Whatever. Mod announcements? Ah. Haha, here we go. So yeah, this is our map for Squad 44. Look cool, just wish we had more assets in the Essence Editor so we could explore more theaters of war and maps. Yeah, that would be nice. Oh, you watched one of my live streams? Oh, awesome, Brian. I didn't know anyone watched this. I've not seen mapping for Squad 44. What is it like? It's pretty much just Unreal Engine that has all the assets from the game in it. So it's pretty much exactly like using Unreal Engine for your own project if you already had a bunch of 3D assets in there and textures and stuff. If you've never used Unreal Engine before, then I don't know what to tell you. It's like, bring in the dead cow. What is going on? Bring it. How does everyone know about the cow? There's no cows. No dead cows on this map. There's only a shrine to cows. Wait, how do you know this? Have you played this game? Have you played this map? Only Unity, not Unreal. Okay, I've never used Unity. Yeah, this is what the map looks like. Made by me and RH. Oh, okay. It was funny that you said dead cow because dead cows are used a lot in this game. And I intentionally wanted to not include any dead cows on this map. So somewhere in the city, there's a golden cow statue honoring cows. And I thought somehow you knew about this. I'm like, how is this crossover episode happening right now? Oh, you have played Squad 44. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, that's a short glimpse at the map. If anyone wants to see the map more, like I said, there's videos on my channel. Also, Boogie 5 did some showcases. Excuse me, some showcases. If you look up Boogie 5 on YouTube. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end the stream there. Nice job, everyone, with your maps, and hopefully people will play these maps and give feedback. And like I said, I'll be making sure I play these maps throughout the week and leaving some detailed written feedback. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I am going to shut it down, so I'll see you later.